public meeting of the Cedar Lake Town Council. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Before we start, Father John, would you like to come up and offer us up in prayer?
Let us pray. Almighty eternal God, we thank you for the many gifts that you have given to each and every one of us. We thank you for the opportunity to use all our gifts to improve the town of Cedar Lake. We ask you to bless this meeting for discussions and deliberations and actions, that all may be to your greater glory and that of this town. We pray in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Roll call.
Robert Carnahan.
Here.
Ralph Miller.
Present.
Randy Niemeyer.
Present.
Greg Parker.
Here.
Richard Sharp.
Here.
Julia Rivera.
Here.
John Foreman is absent. Jill Murr. Present. David Austin.
Present.
Next, we have public comment on agenda items only. Is there any public comment on the agenda? Second call for public comment. Public comment is closed. The reading of the consent agenda, we have the minutes from October 1st, 2019 and October 4th, 2019. Claims, all town funds, $128,874.59. Wastewater operating, $191,725.90. Water utility, $62,819.56. Stormwater, $1,542.40. Payroll for 10/3/19, $248,590.56. Manual journal entries, September 1st through 30th, 2019. Usage request and fee waiver, CLHA, December 8th at Town Hall and February 6th at the Clubhouse. Can I have a motion to accept and waive the reading of the minutes and accept the consent agenda as listed?
So moved.
Got it first by Rick Sharp, second.
I'll second it.
Second by Ralph Miller. Roll call?
Question.
Oh, yes.
I looked at the minutes from our last meeting, and the minutes, I made a motion to defer the design on the eco restoration project, and it was supposed to be on tonight's agenda, and it's not there.
I believe there was discussion between John Foreman and Ms. Murr.
Yes,
Is that,
because the evaluation on all of the finances that we were reviewing was not complete. It needed a little bit more work as far as capital items, so therefore that portion of it was not ready. So it was requested to defer that to the next meeting.
roll call?
Robert Carnahan.
No?
Greg Parker.
Yes.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer.
Yes.
Rich Sharp.
Yes.
Julia Rivera.
Yes. Okay, we have ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance number 1343, the 2020 budget. Mr. Niemeyer, can you read that by its title only?
Sure. Ordinance number 1343, be it ordained resolved by the Cedar Lake Town Council that for the expenses of Cedar Lake Civil Town for the year ending December 31st, 2020, the sums herein specified are hereby appropriated and ordered set apart out of the several funds herein named and for the purposes herein specified, subject to the laws governing the same. Such sums herein appropriated shall be held to include all expenditures authorized to be made during the year, unless otherwise expressly stipulated and provided for by law. In addition, for the purposes of raising revenue to meet the necessary expenses of Cedar Lake Civil Town, the property tax levies and property tax rates as herein specified are included herein. Budget Form 4B for all funds must be completed and submitted in the manner prescribed by the Department of Local Government Finance. This ordinance/resolution shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage and approval by the Cedar Lake Town Council.
Thank you. Is there any question or discussion? Roll call?
You gotta have a motion and
Oh,
a
I'm sorry.
second.
Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance number 1343, 2020 budget.
First motion by Randy Niemeyer, second.
Second.
Second by Rick Sharp. Roll call?
Robert Carnahan,
No.
Greg Parker,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer,
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
Julie Rivera.
Yes. Okay, item number 2, Resolution 1247, 2020 Summerfest. Mr. Niemeyer, can you read this resolution?
You have it handy? I've got a pile of stuff in front of me here. Thanks. A resolution number 1247 is a resolution establishing the basis upon which the town of Cedar Lake shall participate in the year 2020 Cedar Lake Summerfest event and all matters related thereto.
Thank you.
Turn to Jill for an explanation.
Council, as directed at your last meeting, this is the draft resolution. This resolution was distributed to Gordon Dixon, who was at your last meeting. And it has been distributed to your town attorney, but I have not received review comment back yet, so it is in draft format this evening. Gordon has communicated
sorry,
back
I
to
did
me
not
and
see
Okay.
is reviewing it with the Summerfest committee as well. The dates are included in there, as discussed at your last meeting.
So you did not see the resolution,
I
Mr.
did not.
Austin? Okay, I thought the direction was for you to review it and prepare it.
Okay, being as our attorney has not had a chance to review this.
I'd make a motion to defer this item to the November 19th meeting.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion to defer by Mr. Niemeyer, Mr. Parker second. Roll call?
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
Greg Parker,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer,
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
Julie Rivera.
Yes. Now we move on to town council reports. Are there any town council reports?
Each one of us received a letter from Larry Henderson. Everybody look at that letter. And he's complaining about the parking over there, that the people are going and they're charging them to park on our park property. And it's disrupting, and they're blowing stop signs and flying up and down the streets. We had the one stop sign put in there because of a lot of people speeding up there, and he said he didn't think we'd address this, so I prepared it, and he's got pictures and everything in here.
I think we're unclear about charging for parking on that property. Chief Brittingham, did you have anything to say?
I've got something to say. I went there the first time he complained about it. They were not charging to park. They were charging to get in to watch the game. Parking was free.
Okay, I think last weekend, he states they were charging to park, so I don't know if that's a town matter or a police matter, if this is in their legal right.
Well, I don't know, I look at some of my own personal experiences that you look at uses of public parks for events in general. Bring up the Lake County Fair. You charge to park, you charge to enter, it's a public park. It's for the upkeep and the support of the event. So as long as to me, as there's an event tied to it, there's people managing the parking, they're probably either paying parking people or they've got to do something to organize it. It makes sense to me not to be too upset about people charging for parking because it supports the event that is going on. If it's somebody having a house party, it's not necessarily a public event, That's a little different, but this is an event that the public can attend. It's at Cedar Lake Little League fields. I think it begs for kind of some common sense consideration of the type of event it was. It's a community event. They're supporting the event. To me, it's not that big of a deal. That's just my opinion.
Well, there again, if they're flying up and down those streets and a kid gets killed and we don't take any action on it, then we're at fault.
But that has nothing to
That's
do
always
with parking.
been
That has
the
everything to do
complaint.
with law enforcement.
Yeah.
As far as parking, has there been a precedent set of any kind of permit that they would need to charge for
Several
this?
years ago, we discussed a special events permit which would have covered something like this and organized it, but we don't have anything on our books. That was something that was discussed but never considered for adoption. So there's really nothing that we can do from a regulatory standpoint or oversight because we haven't adopted any policies.
They tell me that the people come there and they block their driveways and they can't get into their driveways on Father John, what street do you live on there?
134th place, sir,
And have you experienced any of that?
often.
I would
And-
say
and-
they would definitely need to call the police if their driveway's being blocked.
One of the things that special events ordinance would have required was for people like this, when they're organizing their event, to communicate with the police department about the size and scope of the event for oversight purposes and management purposes, so we can make sure that private residences aren't blocked in, that people know the rules ahead of time, and that these things can be enforced by the event organizers as well as the town.
If I may, I'm on the same street as the softball field, not the Little League Park, that's a whole different issue. It's not so much that they necessarily block the driveways, but if it's a mail service day, we know that the mail service needs 15 feet on either side of the mailbox to drop off your mail. I can tell you, there were several times this summer that my street received no mail because the mail truck could not get in and do its duties. I could also say that the softball fields did not notify the neighbors that they were having such events that would perhaps take up the parking on my side of the street, because you're not supposed to park on the other side of the street. So that would be a fire lane or a police lane if necessary to get through the different events. But they do park on Diane Justice's side as well, especially past her house. But there were several times in the summer that we received no mail because of events going on at the softball field. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I just think we need to do something to try and make this work better. I'm not
Because they're not
for
going away.
stopping the games, but they need better, I don't know if there's any property they can purchase for more parking or something, or shuttle people from maybe, let them park at the high school and shuttle them over there.
Jill, do you have any contact information for the people that run this organization?
We can check, I'm sure we have contacts for Little League and softball as well.
So maybe we can just open up the communication and tell them the concerns, at least alerting the town and the police department when they're having such a big event, and maybe having more police presence there while they're having this. I mean, I know it goes on most of the summer, but we don't know the exact dates in the fall that it's happening until it's happening.
Will do.
I have a report. On October 3rd, I was invited to, and I went to Jane Ball to speak with a group of fourth graders who are in the Lego Robotics Club. The principal, Ryan Eckert, sponsors this club and is their coach. And that was an exciting time, probably one of the best experiences I've had since I've been on this council for the last 9 years. These fourth graders are extremely bright. And what they did was they sent out a survey to some people to talk about some of the main problems facing the community. And they had up on the wall a set of statistics about the respondents, what people responded to. And what they came up with, what the majority talked about, was the lack of sidewalks. We've talked about that here a number of times. People have come to public comment and talked about it. And these kids are trying to take it upon themselves to figure out a resolution. So they're not opinion-based kids, they're more, hey, how do we solve a problem? So I sat with them for about an hour, and they asked me some great questions, and I've got a list of them here. Some of them are, tell us about your job and how you help the community. How many subdivisions are in Cedar Lake? How many have sidewalks? How many kids walk or bike to school? Very detail-oriented questions. How wide are the sidewalks? One kid wanted to know how deep they are, how much land costs to procure to put in sidewalks. So we went through all of this stuff, and at the end, an idea came to my mind is that we had a Safe Routes to School project, and Bob has mentioned it before, that we dedicated all of the funds, which were supposed to be spread throughout the community, towards the Hanover schools. I think it would be a great message for the community at large is to give the kids ownership of a sidewalk project, something simple, something small, that can connect a neighborhood to something that's already there, that might not be in their own school district, but that helps their fellow kids in their community. Bob, you'd mentioned that we need to figure out something to do on the east side, and I agree with you. And I would like to see us work with this group of fourth graders, give them ownership of this project, and let them see the results as they go through into fifth and sixth grade, because we all know how fast government moves when it comes to these projects, and give them a chance to have a stake in their community. I think it'd be a great thing. It doesn't have to be a $500,000 sidewalk project, something small that creates a connection piece that they can put their name on, that they've helped their fellow kids in their community that aren't necessarily in their school district, but in their town.
Yeah, to go back to what you said, the Safe Routes to School for up around MacArthur School, they didn't have enough money to finish Hanover side, so we agreed to take that money from Centers Township and move it over to Hanover Township. And the plan was the street department would go in there and put those sidewalks in at a later date, and nothing's been done yet.
So this is a great opportunity to put that first piece of the puzzle together and have a group of school kids. And what I told the principal, Ryan, I said, what I'd like to do when they finish their robotics project is to invite them into a town council meeting, give them an opportunity to present what their final project report, and then we can collaborate with that group of kids and figure out with our Public Works Department what we can tackle, what we have in our budget that we can tackle, what we can do in-house, that we can put some ownership stake to show that these kids, that their work, their effort actually leads to something tangible. I think it's a great example to set. It's a great way to give young people ownership of their community. So I'm hoping that the council will be acceptable to that. When the time comes, I'm going to ask the council president to put them on the agenda and allow them the opportunity to present their report and start that process of putting a project together.
Okay.
I have one other report as well. Town insurance. This is all insurance. General liability, benefits, all of those types of things. The town council usually doesn't get an opportunity to look at anything or ask for proposals. It's my experience in business that it's not good to shop every year because you get kind of a sour response in the marketplace. And you do have a responsible agent that you have to write a letter that they can go out and shop for you. My personal way I do is every 3 years, I tell my broker, whether it's health insurance or fleet insurance, property insurance, we're gonna shop you every 3 years. And so what we do then is we engage one other party, one other brokerage. Because if you get 3 in, there's not enough underwriters in the pool to divide amongst 3 or 4 brokers. So you get a couple reputable brokers and you let them shop a marketplace. You give permission to one broker to shop certain markets and one broker to shop others. And what I found is that sometimes it's easy to not see what's out there because insurance companies like to insulate themselves by using words like grandfathered or grandmothered, or we put together the best quote for you, you saved this much or that much, when in all actuality, there is money to be saved in the marketplace. And before we get into next year and we have our insurance policies all signed, sealed, and delivered, I would like there to be a process here where we get an opportunity to open up the world of insurance a little bit and consider ways to save some money. Because there's money to be saved out there. Some of it requires internal changes, policy changes, safety changes, training changes, but there are opportunities for us to improve our business. We're a growing community, and how we do our business internally, including purchasing of insurance and managing of risk, is an important part of what we need to consider going forward. So I would like to see us, before that time comes, if it hasn't already, have an opportunity to open this up, get a couple of brokers involved, and see what the world has to offer. We might be surprised. Jill?
We did that last year with our general liability, and we were able to save, I know it was well over $110,000. We did have 2 brokers shopping for us.
So if we did that with general liability, maybe we do it with other insurances this year.
Health insurance right now, employees, as a matter of fact, Friday was the deadline. Form fire, they fill out information and then it is sent out to shop the various insurances for,
I think there were 6 or 7 companies that will end up going out to.
Because when I shopped my health insurance a couple of years ago, and I'll be coming up on shopping again next year, I was able to knock off about 30% of my cost and actually have a better program for my employees. So there is opportunities in the marketplace, especially if you have a good model, a good risk model to sell. I don't know what ours looks like. Part of that risk model also comes down to some internal controls and training, accountability measures, those types of things help to manage that risk model.
right.
Those are my only reports, thank you.
Anyone else?
I've got another one. I'm now on the Boys and Girls Club Advisory Board, and I went to a meeting there today, and I asked Adam, I says, how many members do you have there? I was totally amazed when he told me 642.
Goodness.
Hope not, I hope they don't all come at once.
No, they don't, he said. But that is tremendous. That is putting kids in a system where they're doing something to better their lives and they're not out on the streets getting into mischief. And then as they get older, if they don't have the Boys and Girls Club, it may become problems for a police department.
Okay, very good. Anyone else? Town council reports over. Town attorney?
I have 2 reports, Madam Chair. First of all, ducktailing onto Randy's comments about the insurance. Insurance review, as you know, is intense and it's sophisticated and it's time-consuming, focus-oriented. It's the perfect initiative here in the town for a committee of council members. I know you got rid of the chair or the committee process before, but it's such an important and necessary item and it goes to the core of a lot of what we do in taking care of our people and taking care of our responsibilities. I would encourage you to reconsider it on a limited basis. Reestablish an insurance committee of council members with Jill and your staff. Number 1. Number 2, tomorrow night on the Plan Commission agenda will be the final plat application of Lennar Homes for the Rose Garden Estates PUD subdivision. It would work in just the opposite fashion. That Plan Commission meeting should have been tonight for purposes of the way approvals work, and the council would have followed the next night, but that isn't how the October calendar worked here this year. There will be a presentation, and of course, they have final plat burden of responsibility, and they'll have to meet that. But accompanying that final plat application and petition will be a letter of credit, an irrevocable standby letter of credit for all of the infrastructure and the public improvement requirements for that subdivision. And the amount involved is large, $6,076,000. I'm sorry, $6,067,696.25. Now, this is a document that has very careful language in it, and it's just being finalized to and through today. I do not have that on behalf of the town, nor does Jill, nor does Jennifer yet, but I would anticipate tomorrow or the next day that will be coming. I would like to offer the suggestion that you consider tonight contingent upon Plan Commission checkoff, town engineering written opinion, and town attorney written opinion, that you consider accepting that letter of credit when presented in form and content appropriate for this project. Please remember, this is cash, and that means they're serious and they'll be at the table to fulfill their responsibilities. All of which the Plan Commission, I expect tomorrow night to hold them to task to.
Do we need,
That would be my recommendation. I'd ask you to consider amending the agenda to do so.
do we have a motion to amend the agenda to discuss accepting the letter of credit from Lennar Homes?
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Parker.
I'll second it.
Okay, second by Mr. Miller.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
one last point. And you don't have to do this. It's simply a recommendation, and I see it's on the table. If you do not do this tonight, there will be a loss of one full month. You do not meet again as a council in a formal public meeting unless special meeting scheduled until November 18th, 19th. So 4 weeks out.
Roll call.
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
Greg Parker,
Yes.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer.
Yes.
Richard Sharp.
Yes.
Julie Rivera.
Yes.
What is the agenda item specifically for the record, Mr. Austin?
For the Plan Commission,
No, for the
For us.
council consideration tonight.
Lennar, Rose Garden Estates PUD, letter of credit surety.
Okay.
You wanna repeat that amount again?
$6,067,696.25.
Okay. Can I get a motion to accept the Rose Garden Estates, Lennar Homes, to the letter of credit that we're accepting?
That's it.
I'll make a motion to accept the Lennar Rose Garden Estates letter of credit, $6,067,696.25. Is that correct?
Yes.
Contingent upon Plan Commission, engineering, and legal review.
Is there a second? A motion by Mr. Niemeyer,
I'll
is there a
second
second? Second by Greg Parker. Roll call?
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
Greg Parker,
Yes.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer.
Yes.
Richard Sharp.
Yes.
Julie Rivera.
Yes. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. That's my report.
Clerk Treasurer?
You just adopted the 2020 budget, so I will continue with getting it uploaded into Gateway. I have 5 days to get it, and then we'll just wait for DLGF approval. We should hear back from them end of December, beginning of January. And next, we will begin work on the 2020 salary ordinance. I anticipate that being to you by your first meeting in December.
Okay. Town Administrator?
One report, for your next year's census, Neil has been working diligently updating all of our addresses and updated another 348, I had 368. As of today, so addresses and anticipated subdivisions, et cetera, have been reviewed. And tomorrow, we have our update on the Klein and Lakeshore Drive roundabout meeting, our project meeting.
Okay. Any staff reports? Go ahead.
Before I do this, if I could chime in briefly on our communication about the softball fields. This is also the Little League fields. Obviously, this is not something new. It's been a problem ever since I've been an officer here. But several things have been done over the years to address the problem. Stop signs, no parking signs, in the areas that were a big problem, and continued enforcement. But naturally, I'm not sitting here saying that we can be there all the time, every day. That would not be true. regards to them charging for parking being quote-unquote a crime, well, it's not. But my thought process is to compare it to like the Summerfest, for example. If that is town property, then we probably should have a resolution or some kind of agreement with the organization so that they can charge for parking. If they're charging to get into the games, they can do that.
Right.
It's the organization of the property. That's just my thought.
I think we just need,
Charging portion of it. But obviously, it seems to me that that was just brought up because of the traffic issue and the parking issue in general. And everybody that lives over there, for the most part, has an issue with what goes on over there, because it is a big crowd. I've attended functions over there myself and didn't find a place to park,
Right.
and had to park far away. And I don't know that there is a solution for that. But the parking, I think, if they're gonna park cars on the town's property, i.e. the parking lot, and charge money, there should be a resolution.
some sort of permit or
Similar to
something.
Summerfest.
Well, but if, a simpler way though would be to adopt one set of, like that special events ordinance, so you fill out an application and then it's done, so you don't have to adopt a separate resolution for every single event in town. The Summerfest resolution's a little more comprehensive than just that. But putting together something for special events would be simpler to manage, so we're not going through this legal stuff every time.
My personal opinion is, why wouldn't you want people to charge a nominal fee for something like that when it goes straight back into the organization?
Right. It's legit.
So on to the report this is September activity reports, call reports. So, incidents assisting others, which is fire EMS, we had 82 for the month. Citizen assist, 185. Juvenile incidents, 18. Nothing on murder homicide, 96 ordinances, 90 incidents pertaining to persons, 44 pertaining to property, and 359 pertaining to traffic, and 3 unclassified. So if we break that down to traffic, we had 83 state violations, 3 town traffic, 21 town ordinance, and that was a total of 106 for the month. And for warnings, we had 192 state, 8 town traffic, 21 town ordinance, 2 other, for a total of 223 for the month of September. We had a total of 21 arrests, which resulted in 50 charges being filed, 26 misdemeanors, 7 felony, 3 infractions, and 14 not classified.
Thank you. Any other staff reports? Written communication, building department permit report. Do I have that?
It's on page 9. Through the end of September, we have 152 new home permits with a value just over $26,700,000, with 402 alteration permits with a value just over $4.3 million.
Thank you. Christopher Burke, engineering report.
In your report, you have several items. A lot of them are closeouts. 133rd Avenue, Phase 2. We're still waiting on NDOT to close out some of small material certifications, quantities, and items. High Grove and South Shore subdivision improvement projects, both of those projects are near complete. It's a couple minor landscaping issues with getting grass to grow. Working on closing both of those contracts out. The Town Club ditch project, the good thing is that last major rain we had, everything functioned as it was supposed to. Don was even out there with TJ reviewing the area, as well as I believe Tim reviewed the work that's going on there. We're waiting a final waiver of lien and then a maintenance bond from Metro prior to processing the last pay application.
I was testing.
We also submitted the final grant report to DNR.
What about 129?
129th is a project, we've kind of had that sitting out there, awaiting funding as well as applying for a future community crossing grant. That's been on your report for quite some time now.
And this railroad crossing, I talked to you a little bit, is this part of the improvement of funding and
That's one of the various railroad crossing improvement fundings that was announced by NDOT, being a 90-10 split. There's various amounts of funding available, and as I discussed with you today, I will check back into that tomorrow.
And my concern there for the rest of you, Chief Colson had been working on trying to get train gates put in there at 141st, just near the middle school, and so I asked Joe to follow up on that. And then what about Highland subdivision, that project that we thought was part of High Grove? And
As reported previously, NIPSCO has reached out to us. They, in order to do the project the way we need to do the project and put in the storm improvements we need to put in, NIPSCO needs to relocate some poles, as well as they would like to replace the steel gas mains that are there. Part of doing that project, they will need to get some easements to move the poles. One of the things that will be a plus on that is by moving some of those poles, it'll make it a little bit more accessible for public safety, for police and fire. The timeline they're giving us is 6 to 8 months to complete that easement work that they need to do, and that was kind of putting us into a 2021 construction time period on that project, because as we had previously discussed, if there's any utility issues, we kind of want to get those done before we move forward with the project. So that will also be an improvement in that area of replacing those steel gas mains, which would wind up being in our roadway then. So this will put them out in their own easements. So that work will be ongoing, and NIPSCO's already working on their portion of that.
thank you.
Thank you. I'll now open the floor to public comment. Is there
Yep.
public comment?
Madam President, can I back up with Mr. Niemeyer for 1 second, please? On the special events permit. I remember when we had the last town manager here who thought he had supreme control over every activity that went on in this community. Having to spend a significant amount of time with Mr. Austin to explain to him what were proper activities for a golf course. And it became entangled and really pathetic when it came down to it. I think if you're gonna have some sort of special events permit process, that it needs to be concise enough that if you have someone who doesn't really quite understand normal functions of different businesses, because no one can be an expert on everything. He left here an expert on everything. But, it's just frustrating to have to waste that kind of time for an elected official and an attorney if it isn't stupid proof.
I get what you're saying. The goal that I had in mind was something common sense that protected the interest of the event as well as of the public. Something that just gave everybody enough information to manage the process. Don't make it cumbersome, don't make it expensive, don't make it stupid, just simple, fill out a form.
Keep it simple.
Yeah.
But what we found out is basically everything that happens on a golf course is a special event.
Not necessarily. Golf course has a pretty broad use of their property.
Pretty broad use, yeah.
And,
That was
and
fun,
most
wasn't it?
most of what takes
Yeah.
place on a golf course isn't in the public domain. It's actually on the golf course. It's on a private piece of property, so,
Depends on the acreage, sometimes there's not enough.
once in a great while. Those
Just
would be
saying.
special events, if they're bleeding off into the public property, but I haven't seen many events at South Shore where
Lately,
it hasn't been contained.
lately it was the beach party at the time when they were having the beach party and he went off the rails on that. It was just unnecessary, and I'm not trying, basically I'm just trying to say if we're gonna do something like that, let's make it,
Well, something where
Makes
there's like
sense.
a beach party like that, that's not on a golf course, would be something that would make sense to be in a special events deal just for communication purposes, but it wouldn't have to be cumbersome. It wouldn't have to be, well, you can't do that. It's okay, you want to do that, we wanna help you do that. That's more the idea.
Yeah,
Not that we're looking to manage their event or do anything like that, but the spirit of that ordinance was to make sure that,
well, in that
police could patrol properly.
In that particular instance, Randy, he wanted to not only manage the event, but have the Indiana Department of Environmental Management come
Yep.
and manage some stuff. It just
Well, that was one person, so
became nonsense.
we're just looking to make sense of some of these things, because these concerns continue to get raised as the community grows, and we're gonna need to consider some way to make sure that the right parties are informed. That's all.
Just-
I get it. I understand where you're coming from, Greg.
Before we move on, Jill, you have something else?
I just wanted to report to everyone that's here. I had notified you earlier. We received information from a representative from Norfolk Southern today that they will be closing the railroad crossing on 141st between Parish and Wicker Avenue 41 for the needed repairs to that railroad crossing on Monday, October 21st. Public safety has also been notified as well as dispatch, and they will follow up with another call on Monday confirming that closure.
Did you let the schools know?
Yes, I didn't let MacArthur know.
No, just Hanover, because their
Yes,
buses.
I did let the schools know as, in communications, as well as they were reaching out to the schools, so it's anticipating that closure will be a week.
Okay. Now, we're gonna move on to public comment. Does anyone have any public comment? Okay. Can you come up and state your name and address for the record?
You need your name and
My
address.
name is Lucy Griffin. I live at 13704 Birch Street, Cedar Lake, Indiana.
Very good.
Then I find out that the Bible classes, the Bible school is gonna have a walker, one of those walks.
Okay.
And they're gonna, the streets. Well, that's all. So I noticed the town finally came out and sprinkled a little, those little stones on the street, not filling all holes. They did a poor job. And then I see in Utopia, they refinished that street after 5 years, they blacktopped it again. Why do these subdivisions that are fairly new, because that's a new, my area is like 40 years old, and our streets never get fixed proper, they just do,
You said Birch Street?
yes, from 137 to Lawrence.
Yeah,
And it floods there, and when it floods, it washes the street from Lauderman to Birch, because there's a ditch that runs from over west, over Parish, under the ground. down there.
Okay.
Tim, can you explain a little bit about there's a paving on Constitution and in Utopia? What was that all about?
That is pavement preservation. It's a new technology that we're just trying out. It's supposed to preserve pavement that's in mid lifespan for another 10 to 15 years.
So that was experimental?
It's a steel coating, yeah, it was an experimental. The company came out and looked through our town and picked those two areas to do this on,
So it wasn't actually pavement that was put down, it was a very thin coat of like a hard shell?
Well, they did a beautiful job. Why didn't they do that on my street?
Your street needs more than that. It needs to actually be dug up and completely redone.
I know, because I called the gas company, there was a leak there.
Yeah, your street's in terrible condition, it needs total reconstruction.
Our gas lines are rotting because they're 100 years old. I mean, someday it's gonna blow up around there, but I don't know. And then they did this street here. Well, there's so many streets in Cedar Lake that need a little bit of repair. Not that much. I mean, until you're ready to really do them. But they're not even done. So why keep on doing the same thing? 141st, that runs over the track there. That is in poor shape. That street is so bumpy. And it's just been done, how many years ago? 5 or 6 years ago, they put the street in, part of it, you know, where the prairies are gonna be building it. I mean, I can't understand why these companies that did the street, who was it, who's the big street guy that put?
Walsh and Kelly?
Yeah, they do half-ass work. Why don't you get a new company in here that does good work? Look at Parrish.
They keep winning the bids. They give us the lowest responsible and responsive
Well, you know,
bid.
the lowest bid is not always the best bid.
But by statute, we have to accept that.
And we're accepting garbage.
That's the state statute.
And look at Parrish and 143rd. No, 133rd. That street's falling apart again too, and every couple of years you gotta repair it.
Mhm.
I just don't understand why the state doesn't, this Walsh company is not a very good company. That's all I gotta say. There must be a better company out there.
I hope so.
Well, I don't know what you're gonna do, but I'm getting almost ready to move out of Cedar Lake.
Yeah, Birch Street's in terrible condition.
Big things gonna happen in Cedar Lake. Big things. And it's not good.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Sir, did you have something?
Yeah.
Could you please state your name and address for the record?
Yeah, my name is Gary Singh. I live 7600 Lake Shore Drive. I am, the American Legion Commander, as now. We did a touch a truck program a while back, and I would like to offer some certificates of appreciation to the town council, police department, and the street department, if I could please.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Just, you can hand those right to the gentleman over there, Public
Well,
Works
the
and
town-
Police.
you
One for
can-
the town of Cedar Lake.
Okay,
Give that to Julie.
Okay.
yep.
Thank you. Thanks for doing the event.
Yes.
Now, our project with the touch a truck, we got rained out, but everybody seemed to think that it went over pretty well.
Good,
So we're gonna hope to try to do it again next year.
definitely.
Hopefully Mother Nature cooperates, right?
Yes. Street department? Yes, sir. And the police department. I didn't get one because the fire department didn't show up.
Seems only fair.
They don't show, they don't get.
Well, now they have incentive to show up next year.
Yeah. And I thank you all for your time.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
all your work and your service. Is there anyone else for public comment? Second call for public comment? Okay. Being there's no public comment, I'm going to adjourn. Our next public meeting is Tuesday, November 19th, 7 PM. Thank you.
We have a utility board meeting after a short recess. Julie, hand me the gavel.
I just wanted to make sure because she has to.
Good job. You, you did well. Hey, you wanted to get to the point, right? Let's not waste a bunch of time here. No, you're good. Just sit right there.
So if you would do that